The National Lotteries Authority introduces the Lotto app for all Android and iPhones. Your free download available at nlasvg.com. Whether at home, work, or simply having fun, get all NLA game results at your fingertips. View all draws of the National Lotteries Authority on your handset or tablet with the user-friendly Lotto app. Download today at nlasvg.com. The Lotto app.
Welcome to another edition of Roundtable Talk. Of course, you know this is National Heritage Month. We are going to be talking about pan today. Pan, of course, is part of our culture. To help us with this conversation, we have with us at the round table the president of the Pan movement, Rodney Small. We also have from Starlift, Roddy Dowers, and from Symphonix, Jomo Francis. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having us. All the viewers online, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're looking at.
And VC3, of
and
course.
VC3, of course.
We want to start the conversation by asking you let's talk about the development of PAN in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What is the historical background, so to speak?
Well, as one of the youngest person here,
Youngest.
well, in my capacity as president, the youngest, I mean, I've been doing a lot of reading where PAN is concerned in St. Vincent. And contrary to what a lot of persons think, and Trinidad being the mecca of PAN, we have a wealth of knowledge and history here. There's so much that we could talk about, Teresa, but I initially, there's some things that stood out to me when we look at our history, where our first set of competitions were held in 1949, 48-49, where the interesting thing about that year, there was a tie during that particular year. Coming further down, I mean, again, we could elaborate. It would take more than an hour to talk the history. Then in around 1958, what was happening around that time was every village in St. Vincent and the Grenadines could boast of having their own steel orchestra. Right? And then, of course, we came down later on, where Mr. Dawes would be happy to notice that Starlift was actually dominating Panorama for a very long time during that time. And, you know, there are a lot of different stories. I know Dawes and Jomo would add their bit, but for our history, those two main things were stuck in my mind as somebody who did a lot of research. You know, we can talk about the different pioneers and the different persons who are responsible for a lot of things, especially from the Pan movement, past presidents and persons who have made significant contributions over the years. But another thing that stood out to me, Mr. Ashley Kirby was one of the very first PAN practitioner who went and did some level of formal training. You know what I mean? Because even me studying in Jamaica, when I went there, I saw Ashley Kirby's name on the Wall of Fame at Edna College, where, you know, he took PAN to Jamaica. And I mean, he was doing a lot of PAN work there, even, you know, I mean, playing for gigs so that he could survive during that time. And then, you know, we can't discount what was happening for the past 20 or 15 years, where we now see the initiative, the PAN Against Crime initiative. It's 15 years old, or a little bit older than 15 years, which is a lot. You know what I mean? It's an entire toddler, infant, a young adult, a teenager. And I mean, those years we can't discount. But I mean, in and out, there are a lot of things that have happened over the years. You know, we have Francis Pestel-Llewellyn, who wrote a companion, a book about steel pan and the history of pan and the mechanics of it. So I mean, there's a lot we could talk about, and I know Dawes would put his bit in.
Let's
But
talk about the pioneers and so on. What do you know, Roddy?
Yeah, well, I would have started, you know, with the instrument in 79.
You guys not born yet?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I could remember, but the first time I fell in love with pan, excuse my voice, was at the national exhibition at grammar school. And I can remember seeing Spoon and them guys spinning the stick, and as a little kid holding on to the racket. You can't really see me, but I can see them. And I decided at that point, in every opportunity I get to look at pan, I would go. And joined grammar school in '79, and got in grammar school steel band. And the very first panorama we had, in those days, we actually had 10 bands.
Really?
Yeah, we had bands from as far as Point, Wee Boys Country Style,
Georgetown.
right, in Georgetown. There we had 2 bands in Stubbs, Code International and Victoria Village All Stars. Potential was there, Starlift was there, 20th Century was there, Fantasia was there, Spring Village was there, and Grammar School was there. So, you know, if you look at the development of pan, we probably had more bands at that time, but I think I would stick my neck out and say I think we have more players now. The bands those days, I don't think we were as big. We had less competition, so to speak. Not competition as in panorama, but less things to compete with in terms of people's gravitation to pan. We didn't have 6 and 7 XFM stations. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have kids. Didn't have Xbox and all them things. So it was easy to get them to come to a pan yard at that time. Now it's a bit more difficult, more challenging. The kids have so much more things that they could do, and that's why we have to be very thankful that when a child or when a parent decides to send his child to a pan yard, we have to be very thankful because there's so much other things that they could do, you know, and we're happy that parents have decided to send their children to the pan yard. In my earlier days, that was sort of unheard of. Before me, I would hear that pan was a backyard thing, a bad boy thing. It wasn't so much like that in my early time, but you could tell where it came from. And the type of people you would say, let me say it this way, that you would see playing pan, you could tell is the Roughnecks. You know, people would have probably been on the blocks and so on and come to play. Yeah, there certainly was a stigma attached to pan. It was probably worse before me. Not probably, I'm sure it was worse before me, because I would hear Sado and the other guys in Starlift talk about it, you know, the problems before when thieving a drum to go and build a pan and all these other things. You know, it's a lot of crazy stories you would hear. So it has gotten better, you know, obviously much, much better. We had an event on Sunday was, if a pan man was to come back from the dead from the 60s and see that program, that event that we had on Sunday, you would never believe that we would have gotten to that stage. You know, but in terms of the development, I think we're getting there. The Europe movement is doing a great job in terms of trying to develop it and move it to another direction, you know, so that people could feel free to come out and come to a good pan program, a good pan event, steel band event. Because when I got there on Sunday, I hope I ain't getting into that event too soon. But when I got there on Sunday,
we'll come back to it.
Yeah, when I got there on Sunday, I was telling somebody, but this is a steel band event, you know. When you look at it, you will never say that this is a steel band event. It looked like an event, and somebody probably might have a pan playing, but once you're there, you realize this is a steel band event. And I was very proud of that, and shows that we, you know, headed in the right direction. And once we continue like that, I think we would you know, we would succeed in what we're really trying to do with the art form.
Okay, Jomo, your early beginnings, your
Well,
impressions,
well, I have a long, broad scroll written in my mind about pan. I started pan in 1991. I was one of those guys who were grateful to have pan in my school, in grammar school, and in my community. I grew up in Edinburgh, and I did call some bands, and then he mentioned Western Fantasia.
Yes, I said
You did?
Fantasia. Yeah, man.
Probably
Yeah,
I was recollecting my thoughts. In grammar school, you know, the headmaster at the time, Mr. Lennox John, he was also instrumental in pan in Bishop College. I was talking to somebody just today about it. When you have a headmaster that has a passion for something, it tends to excel in your school. So pan was a very big thing in Bishop and in grammar school. And from the time I went to grammar school and I started to play pan, I could recall Mr. Pessler Welling teaching me to wrap my sticks. And that is something that I took. And to this day, I went to Trinidad for this year's carnival and I was wrapping sticks around the bands because a lot of kids don't know how to do it. In my days, pan was something that a lot of kids never really gravitated to as well because there was a stigma attached. But I grew up in a home where I had a spiritual Baptist grandmother. So I was exposed to the rhythms. And I want to believe that these exposure from having a Baptist church in the yard is what helped me with my rhythmic ability until today. Back then, pan used to be something that we did all day. Growing up in Edinburgh, we would be in the pan yard each day, whole day, and then go to the beach just down the road. That is something that we used to enjoy doing. So my time in pan, and recollecting the history, pan was our playground. The pan yard was our playground. Also growing up in, I grew up in two communities. I spent some time with my grandmother. I will always call my grandmother Mother Francis name, the community of Paul's Avenue. And going over to Bishop College to play football, I got a little bit interested in pan. So two communities where I hung, and pan and school. So I had this great exposure to it. And pan is what caught my life. It was a way of all these tensions in your body. I went to the pan yard, I met a girlfriend, I went to the pan yard.
That's what you went for?
No, well, and to this day, you know, that's how it is. So historically, pan is something that young people used to use for their livelihood because pan was what you used to play in black holes. Western Fantasy used to have black holes all over the place. Pan used to play Juve Morning majority of the times. So in the early days, in the 90s, when I grew up, pan yard was our way of entertainment, of recreation. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have color TV. We had TV where it was black and white. You know what I mean? And I am grateful that I stepped my foot in a pan yard in 1991. Changed the person I am, and it made me the person I am today. You know what I mean?
Okay, great. It's a good point to take our first break and come back to talk about the place and role of steel pan in Vincy culture and development generally. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thinking of winning the lotto jackpot? Well, there is an easy way. Combo Play. Choose 4 numbers from 1 to 36. That's a combo 4 at a cost of $64. Match any 4 of the 5 numbers and win the lotto jackpot. There's Combo 6, where you purchase 6 numbers for only $12. Match any 5 of the 6 lotto numbers and hit the jackpot. How about Combo 7? That's a purchase of 7 lotto numbers for $42. Match any 5 of the 7 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3, Combo 8, and Combo 9 lotto plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Paul's Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Lotto, you have to be in it to win it. You can increase your chances of winning the Super 6 jackpot with a combo play. Remember, Super 6 numbers are from 1 to 28. Choose any 5 Super 6 numbers. That's a combo 5 for $69. Match any 5 of the 6 numbers and you will win the jackpot. Choose 7 Super 6 numbers for $21. Match any 6 of the 7 numbers and win the jackpot. There's more. Combo 8, where you purchase 8 Super 6 numbers for $84. Match any 6 of the 8 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3 and Combo 4 Super 6 plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Pauls Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Super 6, bigger jackpots, more chances to win. The National Lotteries Authority introduces the Lotto app for all Android and iPhones. Your free download available at nlasvg.com. Whether at home, work, or simply having fun, get all NLA game results at your fingertips. View all draws of the National Lotteries Authority on your handset or tablet with the user-friendly Lotto app. Download today at nlasvg.com. The Lotto app.
No place like home because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Come home to me. Come home to me. Come home to me. Don't no promise from today. I go show like I never show you way. Like I never went. Like I never went before. Just to show you what's up. You know what I'm saying? Cause I will never let you down again.
Welcome back. Jomo, just before we took our first break, you were talking about how you were so grateful that you went into steel pan, that it came into your life. It brings me now to the whole question of what is the place and role of the steel pan in Vinci culture, in our national development, in the whole scheme of things?
I don't know who first.
For me, right, and from my experience with my band, and Pan has taught me a lot in terms of discipline. Pan has been my life. Everybody knows that. Pan has been my life for, from first time I hit a Pan, I was 9 years old. Then I didn't play as good and thing as Rodney and Jungo, but and from that time, you could tell that playing pan, well, music on over, but playing pan or being involved in a pan yard is something that you have to do over and over and over again, just like anything else, to get good at it. Learn the discipline, and what pan has also taught me, is to be a leader, and what it has also made me realize is that children, in terms of the academics, pan could and does assist. People just don't realize it. Over the last 10 years, I would even say less than 10 years, Starleaf has had a minimum of 10 national scholars. Minimum of 10 national scholars. And I don't mean people that, I'm not including those that did well. And pan helps you to retain, and no Jomo would agree that, and no Rodney would agree that. You learn, I always tell the kids in the pan yard, if you could practice a panorama song and come and play it 10 minutes of music and you playing all them notes, all them phrases, you know, and you could remember that. There's no reason why you can't remember your schoolwork. No reason at all. And that's why I really believe that
It helps.
that is, yeah, of course it helps. And that is, that's part of the role of PAN. You know, we have our children that play, they play Panorama
And a
do
CXC.
CXC at the same time. And some of them play juniors and senior Panorama and ended up doing very well in school. So it all has to do with the dedication. And if your band, and I know other bands are doing it as well, if your band is committed to that, then the children will be committed to that. And to keep it on, they keep the parents, and the parents get to have that kind of understanding and belief in what is happening in your band, then more and more children would gravitate, more and more parents would gravitate to the steel band. There was a 7-year-old child on 7-year-old child on Sunday that played a solo, and I could see people asking Hero, because I think she came from Heroes Academy.
7 years, you know.
7 years old, huh? And she, I could see,
So,
yeah, about 4 or 5 people, when I was there, already asking Hero, you know, and that's just for what I saw, and that's that period of time. The parents need to understand also what the kids like, what the kids would want to do,
And believe in them.
and believe in them when they want to do it. All right? I've had a situation where parents use the paniard as their way to discipline the child. So the child loves the paniard so much, they do something wrong, he said, okay, you can't go in the paniard. People think, I think that is good, personally, because it shows that they understand that the child loves the paniard so much that is what they would use to discipline the child. Some people may not agree with me, but it gives me a good feeling that the children have, you could take away your phone, you could take away your tablet, you could take away your game. If you could decide to take away the paniard from the child, then it shows that the child really has a paniard, you know,
okay.
high on the agenda.
I mean, for me, in a broader spectrum, on a broader scope, from the European movement standpoint, and even as a practitioner all my life, PAN is community. I mean, PAN is identity, PAN is character, PAN is a change agent, PAN is a vehicle, PAN is social transformation, right? And if we're listening around the table, you're hearing all those elements that are coming out, and if you're observing what has been happening throughout the years with PAN, you would identify all those things. But mainly, PAN is identity, right? We spoke about the pioneers, and we even spoke about the stigmas and the labels that were given to persons who are involved in PAN. But one of the thing is, based on of your question, Teresa, is our role. As a fraternity, in my personal and humble opinion, we're still fighting for acceptance. It's getting better, because as Lover said, in history, we're known to be bad people, no goods, waste of time, delinquents, you name it. And I know across the room, for 3 of us here, it was a risk that we took, right? Even for me and Jomo, even more, and even as Dawes too. But when we decided to make PAN music a career, I mean, never mind we have our 8 to 4, because I work in the Ministry of Culture, Jomo work at the Carnival Development Corporation, but we were identified because of what we were doing, or what we are doing as PAN players. What Dawes known now as a business owner, a lot of the qualities came from his experience in the panyard, becoming a leader at a very tender age, discipline, being committed and dedicated. So when I say PAN is community, you know what I mean, I've met brothers and sisters that I've never had before. I've met parents, extended parents that I've never had before in the panyard. It gives me some sense of identity to know that I am a part of a fabric. I'm a part of an instrument that is the only instrument that was invented in the 21st century, non-electronic instrument. Now we got an electronic because we have the electric pan. But that in itself gives you a sense of belonging and a sense of pride, right? Never mind it's from an old oil drum, but what is the value of it? What is the emotional attachment of it? And I mean, I've heard conversations about pan dead and what's not. And when you look at persons who are saying pan is dead and pan is not alive, it's somebody who have never visited a pan yard. I don't understand what happens in a pan yard. I mean, we could go down the list, we could name, you know what I mean? We could go a little bit more in depth. I mean, the social transformation, pan against crime, the different summer programs, the different activities, right? The different retreats, the different getaways, the different events, because the events are as important as what is happening in the individual pan yards. The educational aspect, as there was mentioned, we have island scholars who are pan players. Now, if you look recently what is happening in our society for the past 5 years, let's give it that time frame, a lot of the criminal activities, none of them are pan players. Or, let me take it further, persons in the creative arts. Now, if you spending 5 and 6 and 8 hours in a pan yard, by the time you're done, it's time to sleep.
Yep.
You understand the level of conversations that are generated within a pan yard. I mean, and I would challenge anybody who's not affiliated with any band. Just go and spend a single night in a pan yard, and you would understand why I say pan is community. Pan is a change agent. Pan changed my life. Everybody who comes in here and you talk to as somebody who's been playing pan for more than 10 years, that is exactly what they're going to tell you. I mean, the acceptance.
So what it is about pan that has this transformative power?
I just told you, the parents that you meet that are not your direct parents, right? The level of discipline that you must have. Listen to this. When your captain or your band leader or your arranger take a stick and knock on the pan and the entire pan yard goes quiet. There's a level of discipline there. There's some teachers in a classroom that can't even get the students quiet. But from the time you hit that pan, everybody know what that means. Right? And I mean, as I said, we are still fighting for acceptance. We're still fighting for acceptance because, and I mean, history, based off of a lot of things that happen in history, but now more than ever, Teresa, let's pay attention. Everything that is happening in our society, regionally, right, mainly, and locally, pan is involved. Why? Identity. Identity, and I'm going to continue to push the conversation of, yes, we may not be the makers or the creators of pan, but we are part of a Caribbean civilization that the steel pan instrument is our identity, and I will keep saying to the Minister of Education, no matter who it is, the Minister of Culture, and by extension the entire Cabinet and Parliament and the Prime Minister, that we must make pan our primary instrument within our schools.
So are there efforts afoot to,
of course,
to make this?
We had a conversation, we had a meeting with the Prime Minister. Every speech that I've done since I became president, I've made mention of it because it's our Caribbean identity and it's what we can relate to. I have nothing against the piano and the recorder, but I could relate to my steel pan.
Yes.
As a Caribbean individual.
And
Caribbean-born instrument.
And pan is indigenous to Teresa. When you play a steel pan, especially in the outer world, because I've had the opportunity to represent St. Vincent and gone some tours to Dubai, to Mexico, to Panama, to Haiti, all over the world. And when you play a steel pan, people see you as a superstar. And back home, you know, you tend to think that what you are doing is meager. It don't have merit. But when you get yourself involved in a steel band, as Randy said, you're involving yourself in a community where you're meeting people from different areas, from different groups, different age groups. And it also helps with academics. And I know Rodney don't like to hear me talk about this. When you look at Rodney Small, where he came from to where he is today, you know what I mean? You have to wonder, people really don't understand the kind of avenues that is at their disposal. We're getting involved in the steel pan. traveling around the world. I just came back from Trinidad 2 days ago. That is the world stage of pan. Rodney was there. Rodney was busy doing steel pan work and other work by extension. And I realized that we ourselves, though even, well, I say we as in Vincentians, still don't understand the magnitude of the art form. In Trinidad and Tobago, I will refer to Trinidad because I just came from the carnival. People crowded Port of Spain, road blocks, just to go to Panyards for the preliminary rounds. It was amazing. I traveled across the waters on boat to Tobago. The boat was overfilled, rammed with people just going. It's like leaving St. Vincent to go to Bequia for Panama. All the flights were booked. The ferry was filled to capacity. People vomiting and people going.
Okay, on that note, we'll take our second break and come back in just a second.
Boom, boom. Because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Ain't got no place like home. Because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Come home to me. Come home to me. Come home to me. Don't no promise from today. I go show like I never show you. Like I never won. Like I never won before. Just to show you what's up. You know what I'm saying? Boom! 'Cause I will never let you down again.
Thinking of winning the lotto jackpot? Well, there is an easy way. Combo Play. Choose 4 numbers from 1 to 36. That's a combo 4 at a cost of $64. Match any 4 of the 5 numbers and win the lotto jackpot. There's Combo 6, where you purchase 6 numbers for only $12. Match any 5 of the 6 lotto numbers and hit the jackpot. How about Combo 7? That's a purchase of 7 lotto numbers for $42. Match any 5 of the 7 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3, Combo 8, and Combo 9 lotto plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Pauls Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Welcome back. Of course, we are talking pan. It's Pan Talk this evening, and we have Rodney Small, Jomo Francis, and Roddy Dowers. You too can join the conversation by contacting us on our Facebook and YouTube platforms, and also by WhatsApping us here at VC3. For those people who have never been in a pan yard, what happens in a pan yard?
I'm a panyard man.
Go right ahead.
I spend a lot of time in the panyard. I have to juggle it because I have to spend time with my family. And that is a very big part of being in a panyard. A person like myself, you have to juggle time, teach your kids their homework, find time for significant other. I always tend to talk about my significant other. I have an understanding wife, and I have to leave them at nights to go to the panyard. In the panyard, you find people from sometimes the community that you're arranging for, or you walk along with. People may venture from outside the community. Because my band Symphonic Steel Orchestra in Kittels, I'm from Kingston. So I have to travel most of the times with my son plays with me, and a few other people from Kingston to Kittels. And there are people in the band who live beyond. South Leeward is a very big constituency for Mount Clear Valley and the surrounding areas. So when you go to the Panyard, you know, you meet people from different backgrounds. People from Kingston tend to see things different from people from Kittels or Cameron Park, and they have different ideas, and they have some little pulling and tugging, but as Rodney said, this is the community. So you tend to have a melting pot of different ideas, some slightly different twangs, all these little things. So there's a sense of integration when you go in the Panyard, and there's also the aspect of academia. There are some kids who don't go to school. They might be well versed practically in playing the steel pan, as opposed to some other kids who go to secondary school. And then you have a melting pot of some rude boy with some nice boy, along with some butch boy. So I think Roddy always tell me that when he went to Starlift, he was seen as a butch boy. You understand? So there was Roddy Dowers, nice boy Roddy Dowers, coming through the Panyard with a lot of Rasta men. And that's the next thing I want to highlight. When I went to not Starlift, when I went to Fantasia, back then there was a lot of Rastas playing pan. So when you go to the Panyard, you will be exposed to the Rastafarian way of things. Ital food was a thing we used to be eating a lot. When you went to the Panyard, one or two men might smoke the little herb, you know what I mean, the little stimulants. One or two men might drink a little rum. So when you go to the Panyard now, you might find yourself getting to be more of what you may want to be. You know what I mean? Sometimes you go to the Panyard before you even play up a note, you play a domino. And just before you start to practice, you might be saying, hey, we have man, and shit a man now, so hold on while before the practice start. Them kind of things. So Pan is a family. And when you go to the Panyard now, and there's something I see happening in my school, in my Panyard, students who are of higher class would help students who are of a lower class, because there are kids who go to college and there are kids who go to primary school still in my band, so they could help each other.
One another.
Yeah. So and then one thing I have to commend the government with, there's Wi-Fi around all the schools and around most of the Panyard. So sometimes people come to the Panyard and they start their homework. All these little things, people don't know what goes on in the Panyard. So the Panyard is a melting pot of different characters. There might be a Safi, there might be a bully, and all these things now, the social ability of people to mingle with people outside of their comfort zone. So coming to the Panyard helps you with the social aspect of life, mixing and mingling. That's why I mentioned before that sometimes you find a boyfriend or a girlfriend in a Panyard. You know them kind of way. So when they come to and there are a lot of females in the Panyard. That's the next thing I want to highlight. There are a lot of females in the Panyard, a lot of females playing pan. And that will carry us to the next concert coming up, the female aspect of what happened on Sunday. So you left that for later on.
Okay, because we want to talk about some of those things. Somebody is saying here, pan needs an extra push in our country. Tell me what the Yellow Pan movement is doing in this regard.
Well, there's so much thing that since myself as a president and the new executive, we've been elected in 2019, and then we've been re-elected again in 2020 or 2021 to be exact. And from me as the president, Teresa and Jomo and Dawes, I've always had my eyes on being the president of PAN. I mean, I was very close to Warren Knight, I was close to Onika Morgan, and I was close to Dougie Nose, right? Those three recent presidents. And I mean, I could have easily, as we say, throw my hand in the ring. But I wanted to understand the art form. I wanted to understand what is happening. I wanted to understand the different personalities. Roddy from Starlift, Hero from Starlift, Jomo, all the different personalities. So whenever I do get a chance, if I get a chance, I would know how to approach things. Yeah. But so, I mean, one of the things that I speak of as the president is acceptance. And a lot of our programs are geared towards that. it's geared towards training and education. But one of the things this new executive is really pushing is the brand pan. We're going to treat it just like a product. You have a laptop, the makers and makers and the creators of that laptop has an entire marketing company that deals with the marketing of it. I mean, spreading the good news of it and how important it is to its users.
How good it is.
And that is one of the approach we want to take. So the extra push, we identified that as an executive, and we went as far as having a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister, key persons who are responsible for the development and that push we are talking about. But before I go there, the push has to start with us. There's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of ownership. So Roddy have to push it, Jomo have to push it, Rodney have to push it, JP have to push it, Hero have to push it, Tafa have to push it, Warren Nice have to push it, Tidal, all of us have to be a part of that push. Because I could remember one time a man told me he's not supporting PAN because PAN people themselves don't support PAN. And that is a harsh reality. But moving to the meeting with the Prime Minister and some of our sponsorship, this current executive came up with a plan, a 2-year plan that is worth $1 million. I mean, person saying that was, PAN want so much money, $1 million. Because again, we are talking about the push for education, we're talking about the push for the development, we are talking about the push for the events, we are talking about the push for standardization and the formal training. I mean, we need to see more PAN players holding a degree, a diploma, associate, a master's, a PhD. I mean, whatever you call it. So the push is not only to push and market events, but the push is to deal with the youngsters who are coming up, see how they can make a livelihood from it. The youngsters who are coming up who wants to be arrangers and future leaders within their communities and their band. So there are a lot of things, and I mean, as I said, we're pushing for the events, right, which would help to generate some revenue for the persons who are involved. We are pushing for formal training, which we've been in conversation with UTT already via the Prime Minister, where we're going to offer 3 scholarships for persons to go and study at UTT. We are in collaboration with the national lotteries.
And UTT being the University of Trinidad and Tobago.
We are in conversation with the national lottery through the Prime Minister to put some unemployed arrangers on a program so that they could earn a living while they develop and harness their own craft. We're in conversation with getting our own office. So getting your own office means that we are pushing a lot of things in the full-time realm and not just a part-time thing, right? We're pushing development in terms of how do we enhance the panyard, because you ask about what goes on in the panyard. The panyard is a place of expression. Yep. It's a rhythmic instrument, you know? So when I'm stressed out and I go to the panyard and I'm rehearsing, everything that is within me, I move it into the playing, into the performance, into whatever we're doing, right? It's a place where you could have gone and be very vulnerable, right? So the push, you know what I mean, the business sector, you know what I mean, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers now, they're not doing enough where their corporate social responsibility is concerned. Now, you cannot turn your eyes away from a steel orchestra that has about 80 to 120 PAN players who can possibly be your new customers, who can possibly be persons to help you push and market your brand. But as I said earlier, Teresa, we as practitioners, we have to put our house in order to be a part of that conversation around the table. So first the push, we have to first push it, we have to package it, and then we have to get it out there, right? So the events, the marketing strategy, the marketing plan, and the strat plan that we presented to the Honorable Prime Minister and his cabinet, that is worth $1 million. Now, 3 scholarships is about $300,000 a month. I paid $133,000 for my degree. You understand? So $300,000 to just develop 3 persons in the area of PAN tuning.
That's about total the million.
Yeah. And then we're talking about Panorama, appearance fees, prize monies for the bands who are entering Panorama. We're talking about the activities that deals with cultural tourism. Tourists are coming here for a way of life, you know.
How do we get people to understand the likely economic benefits that can be derived from pan?
Well, that is another part of what we are trying to do as an executive, right? To start looking at value. Value. The time that Dow was spending in the Panyard as a captain, the time that Jomo spends in the Panyard as an arranger, and then the time the orchestra spends preparing for a performance is worth more than $500 or $1,000. Nobody could ever pay for your intellectual property, which is your creativity and your ability to play. And these are the conversations that we must have. Trinidad and Tobago, as Jomo mentioned, is now moving into a billion-dollar industry where pan is concerned. You know why? Because they saw the value, they understand the value, and they keep pushing the value. One of the things I've always said to Joe Moro and other pan players, we have to be able to get up from around the table and walk away. The history of pan, and the value of pan, and the identity that comes with it, nobody can ever pay for it.
Indeed.
Nobody can ever pay for that value. You understand our ancestors would tell you. You understand where I'm coming from? It is now a thing where bands in first world countries are now trying to claim it. But we in the Caribbean, what are we trying to do? So the push is also important, and I'm going to continue to appeal to the government, and I will go by extension, the parliament and the business sector, but for the government to let a lot of these big companies understand their corporate social responsibility. And you're not doing it just because you're tolerating it, but you're doing it because you understand the value of it. There are many Rodney Smalls out there, you know. There are many Roddy Dows out there. There are many Jomoro Francis out there. There are many Saeed Bowmans out there. I was just told that Saeed Bowman is now the top of his engineering class. Now, a lot of the qualities that Saeed has now outside of what his parents did is coming from the Panyard, his level of discipline and commitment.
The instrument.
When I was in the Panyard, I was doing 8 hours a day. Now, if I stay up and study 8 hours, it's easy because it's something that I'm used to and accustomed to already. It's 8 and 10 hours you spend in the Panyard, I don't know. So now when you have to sit up and study, that is nothing.
So I'm seeing someone here saying, just like Girl Guides or cadets, being a steel pan player teaches a lot of discipline and character building. It offers opportunities to create lifelong friends, same thing you were saying, as well as time management. It has played a pivotal role in making me the multifaceted person I have become. And the person wants to shout out Johnny Pompey and the past members of Potential and the present members of Epic Sounds. Okay, so probably you guys know who that is. But yes, someone, Ivanic Pear, I think.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
I mean, some very important points there.
Yeah, and they're absolutely correct. They're absolutely correct, Teresa, because as I mentioned before, Pan would have taught lots of people, and for me, for sure, a lot. I could never repay the steel pan for what it has done for me. Never. I could never repay my band for what it has done for me. Never. Because that is what has been instrumental in making me what I am. And when I say what I am, I don't mean what I own or what I have. I mean just the individual that I am. And, you know, Pan, I don't know where to be without it, to be honest.
Somebody's saying we can also start teaching pan in schools, but that happens now.
Yeah, that is happening. And as I mentioned, the program that is now in collaboration with the National Lotteries is for these arrangers to go into the pan school. And we actually have more school bands than community bands.
No.
In junior pan, it's 12 and 13 school bands we would normally see taking part in junior panorama. So there's a lot of school bands out there. And I mean, it's just really to get enough tutors and facilitators to go into the schools.
Yeah, the main one of the biggest problems and issues that we have though is that, and I know they would agree, Rodney and them would agree with me, is that you have all these school bands, right? And the children get to that age where they leave school. So you might find a child is going to school in Connery, and they probably have a band somewhere in Connery. But when they finish, they want to join a senior band, and the senior bands are so far away. So a lot of them stop playing because of access. access to,
No steel
to the
band
band
in the area.
So we lose players. We lose players who really don't mind coming. But I live way. I pass two steel bands before I get to Starlift. I pass, Epic and Signal before
You reach
I get
to
to Starlift.
Montrose, right.
When I left grammar school, I went to a steel band to play, and it wasn't Starlift drummer. I went to a steel band to play, and they told me that they don't want any bush players in the band because
And I always remember that story.
I had a little
remember
old car.
telling me.
My father had gone away and left a little old car, and I drove up there Sunday morning, Panorama time, and I was told they don't want any bush players in the band.
All right.
So I
Bush
promptly
player.
drove over to Starlift
Oh, there you go.
and joined the band the same day, you know.
Okay, so we'll take our final break and come back and talk a little bit about the shows and
Yeah.
activities that are scheduled for the next several months or so. We'll be back in just a moment.
Come back home because we need you. I really need you. Come back home because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Ain't have no place like home because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Come home to me. Come home to me. Come home to me. Don't not promise from today. I go through. Like I never show you play. Like I never play. Like I never went before. Just to show you what's up. You know what I'm saying? Boom! 'Cause I will never let you down again.
Welcome back. I don't know where the time went, but we just ran out of time. It's so enlightening and interesting. The time just went. What are some of the things that are planned for the immediate future in terms of programming and activities?
Well, we've just concluded our solos and duets, as that was mentioned earlier, which was a tremendous event. Again, as I mentioned, cultural tourism, the European movement, in this particular brand have decided that we're going to move this to different hotels every year. So we did sunset shows and we did Love View. And then next year we're going to move to a different hotel. So there, I want to say a major thank you. I don't want to go into it. It was just a satisfying moment. You know what I mean? I felt good to know that persons were actually there because of Steel Pan. There was nothing else, as that was mentioned. So I want to say a major thank you to the executive members and all the member bands and the Love View Hotel, who really accommodated us for free. Again, this is social corporate responsibility I spoke about. So it was a win-win situation for all of us. In the next 2 weeks, we have something that's called Steel at Toes. The females and the executives are the ones who came up with the name. I just know that I wanted something for females. And I mean, the wonderful young ladies, I didn't even know what was a stiletto, but you know, that's how we learn.
We don't know.
We know now. And that is on the March 19th, 2023, March 19th. It's a bit different. We're going to have some entertainment. We call it Edu Entertainment. Women in Entertainment, we're calling it, where we're going to have our females performing, and then we're going to have discussions with them and other females in entertainment, because quite naturally we're losing a lot of female entertainers simply because there are a lot of challenges that they're facing. So we want to hear what are some of the challenges that they're facing, what are some of the issues, what are some of the things that they're going through as women in entertainment. The whole idea of sex sells, the whole idea of seeing a woman in entertainment as a sex object. You know what I mean? There are a lot of producers who use female entertainers. You know what I mean? If you want a big song,
For the grab,
you
yeah.
could come and, you know, and so we're going to shed some light on it, provoke some thoughts, and then also outside of that, see how much we can create some solutions. And then, of course, we're going to go back to some of our grassroots stuff. We have an event called In the Yard, where we're going to go to a pan yard, and we're going to just let go. All the bands are going to come to that particular pan yard, and we're going to just play collectively as an art form. The last one, we did it during COVID at the Starless Steel Orchestra.
Wonderful.
This year, we're going to do it at the Epic Steel Orchestra in Calico. So we're moving to different pan yards, and we're calling it In the Yard. So we're doing everything in the yard. So the question you asked, what happens in the yard? You're going to come and see what normally happens. The best saltfish and rice I ever eat is in a pan yard, yeah?
Oh.
Right, and then we're going to do something that's called pan on the block, right? We're going to move it to the block. And I mean, because again, as Drummer said, a lot of different characters pass through the pan yard. So we want to take it to the blocks and cry some music and cry some nice vibe to the man name on the block. So you could look out for that. And our ultimate flagship event after Panorama is, we're calling it Ivory Soiree, which is our Panorama launch. It's an all-white affair. It's a fete with pan and some popular DJs. But picture yourself being in a fete, jamming to some nice steel pan music, dressed in all white, a lot of wonderful tokens and branding from the Euro Pan movement. So persons could look out for that.
When is this?
In May. May the 23rd, to be exact, is our Panorama launch. So everything that is happening is obviously moving everything into the vein of Panorama. We have an event for every month from now until August, because my time, our term is ended in August, where we have convention in September. Not sure if we're going to be re-elected by these member bands. But one of the things, Teresa, so it's Stilettos March 19. In the Yard is April 23rd. And in May, we have the Panorama launch, and then we're going to leave the bands alone, because they're going to prepare for the Super Bowl of Pan, which is Panorama. But we as an executive, we're going to continue our marketing plans. We're going to try to see how much we can get people to move around to the pan yards with us while we lime, have some specials going on with drinks. These are things that happen traditionally in a pan
Any of
yard.
these things happening in the Grenadines or everything?
Well, I'll just get into that. We have some plans which Jomo would know, that we want to go to one of the Grenadines Islands where we have a member band. We have bands as far as in Beckway. Right, we want to go to Beckway, where we go and show some love to that band and do a whole entire concert down there. But we're going to do a boat ride. So we get in on the boat, and we party and going down, and then we get down, we get to play some music and what's not. But we have an event for every month until right up to August. In August, we're going to conclude with our awards, where we want to pay some tribute to the old boys, something that we call old boys. So people like Sado and Josiah and Dougie and all these older guys, and the Dougie Nose, and I mean, we wanna show some appreciation. But as it is now, we're gonna be in your face. I mean, we're gonna get very aggressive and very intense. And I mean, as an executive, we understand the role now more than ever. And I mean, and our intention is to really leave the movement, if we decide to leave, if we're not re-elected, with a good financial standing and office and events that could sustain them, not just us as an executive or as an art form, but for them as individual bands and for the individual players. Because sooner or later, there's no more Jomo or Francis, there's no more Rodney Small, there's no more Hero, there's no more Saeed, there's more brand names that are emerging, and we must create avenues for them. So again, a good financial standing and office, a constitution that is up to date with what is happening regionally and internationally, and of course see how we can implement or incorporate the diaspora, because I remember Starleaf went to England and these places with the former Minister of Culture. So, you know, it's really 2 years. There's a lot to get done in 2 years, and we are in our final stretch. But if we're not re-elected or if we're not going back, we're hoping that a lot of these initiatives will continue. Again, two things I want to plug before we go, Teresa, is that for the business persons who are listening and for persons in the diaspora, let's be mindful of our corporate social responsibility. Let's be mindful of our identity. I mean, the steel pan being an identity. There's nothing else that we can identify with. And I mean, I say that with no apology, because we are moving away. As Laura said, the competition is the cell phones and all the wonderful things that are now within the world. But we have to see how we can move ourselves into those spaces. So how do you see pan on Netflix? How do you see pan on YouTube? How do you see pan as an app? Right? And my thing as the president personally, for a lot of the member bands who are listening, and for myself and the executive, there's a vision, and we're hoping that you can see through the eyes and see the vision that we're trying to create and the path that we are trying to go down. I mean, next executive will have their own vision, but as it is now, we're getting very intense, aggressive, and we're rebranding, but also keeping our core values.
Great, good stuff. Pan is in good hands, by the way, like your hat.
Thank you.
Well, guys, thanks for coming, Jomo,
Thanks for
Rodney,
having me as well.
and of course, Roddy.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having us.
guys.
Thank you for having us.
I think I'm having Rodney again in another 2 weeks or so. So that's our program for today. So glad you could join us. Join us again next week, Wednesday, for another edition of Roundtable Talk. Have a pleasant Wednesday evening. So long.
Back up, back home, because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Ain't got no place like home, because we need you. I really need you. Because we need you. I really need you. Come home to me. Come home to me. Come home to me. Don't no promise from today. I go show like I never show. Like I never went. Like I never went before. Just to show you what's up. You know what I'm saying? Boom! 'Cause I will never let you down again.